You say you're ready for love, ready for success, ready for peace, but your body is still bracing for chaos, still tightening when things go right, still waiting for the storm after the calm, because deep down, your nervous system doesn't believe it's safe to relax. And so you don't manifest the life you consciously want. You manifest the patterns your body has rehearsed for years, and that's the part no one told you. You don't attract what you want. You attract what your system has learned to survive. It doesn't matter how clear your vision board is if your baseline is still wired to expect abandonment, rejection, failure. Your desire might be loud, but your signal is scrambled, because it's your frequency, not your fantasy, that the field is responding to. And your frequency is just the sum of your emotional safety patterns. You see, the universe isn't judging you, it's just echoing you. It's not responding to your affirmations, it's responding to the parts of you that still flinch in the dark, that still associate ease with danger, that still believe love means performance and rest means punishment. So while you say, "I'm ready for change," your body still whispers, "Not yet, it's not safe. Don't trust it. Don't open. Don't receive." And so you sabotage, you chase what you fear, and you fear what you crave, and you call it fate, or bad luck, or resistance. But really, it's your system trying to protect you from what it still thinks will hurt. And this is why the quantum field doesn't shift just because you want it to. It shifts when you become someone who can hold what you asked for without collapsing. Because the block isn't in the field, it's in your wiring. And until you change what your body believes is safe, abundance will feel like a threat, success will feel like pressure, love will feel like risk, and peace will feel like punishment. So the real question isn't what do you want to manifest, it's what does your body feel safe receiving? Because the quantum responds to who you are, not what you say. And if your identity is still entangled with survival, your frequency will keep attracting the storms you swore you outgrew. That's the shift no one talks about, and that's where we begin. Imagine your nervous system as a loyal guard dog trained in a war zone. It learned to bark at every shadow, flinch at every sound, stay alert, even in sleep. And now the war is over, but the dog doesn't know that it still barks, still growls, still protects you from threats that no longer exist. And the tragedy is, you call this protection, your personality, your anxiety, your intuition. But it's really just unresolved fear in disguise. This is how trauma lingers, because trauma isn't stored in your memory, it's stored in your body. It's not what you remember, it's what your nervous system learned to expect. And so even when your life looks different, even when you've done the healing and read the books and said the affirmations, your system can still be living in a past version of reality, still bracing for impact, still looking for betrayal in safe places, still scanning for chaos in moments of calm. And this is why you can affirm, "I am at peace," and still feel uneasy when nothing is wrong, why stillness feels suspicious, why love feels too good to trust, why calm makes your skin crawl. It's because the guard dog is still barking, because it was never taught how to rest. And if you grew up in chaos, your baseline became hypervigilance. If you learned that love was inconsistent, your body wired itself for survival, not for connection. And now that you're seeking a new life, your system doesn't recognize it as safe. It recognizes it as unfamiliar, and unfamiliar equals danger. So even if peace is what you want, chaos might still feel like home. And this is not your fault. It's your imprint. You didn't choose it. You inherited it. Your body did what it had to do to keep you safe, to stay alive, to stay loved, and it did it well. But now that wiring is outdated, it's protecting you from ghosts. It's blocking you from the very life you're trying to call in. This is why people say they want connection, but push it away. They say they want success, but sabotage the opportunity. They say they want freedom, but panic when the structure disappears, because their nervous system hasn't been updated to match the new vision. And this is why you can't shame your way into change or bypass your way into alignment, because your system isn't broken, it's just loyal. Loyal to what it learned, loyal to what it survived, loyal to what it thought love was, what safety was, what worthiness was. But that loyalty is now the loop, and the only way to break it is to teach your system a new story, not with words, but with regulation, not with pressure, but with presence, not with force, but with familiarity. Because the guard dog won't calm down with commands. It will calm down when it feels you're finally safe. And when that safety becomes the new imprint, that's when the field shifts. That's when the life you've been chasing stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like home. You've been told your thoughts create your reality, but the quantum field doesn't speak language, it speaks frequency, and your frequency isn't set by your intentions, it's set by your nervous system. It's not what you say, it's how you signal. It's not what you think, it's what you embody. At the quantum level, everything is vibration, and coherence equals signal clarity. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your body are aligned, you emit a clear frequency the field can respond to. But when your thoughts say, I am abundant, and your breath is shallow and your chest is tight, your body is signaling lack, and that's the frequency the field mirrors back to you. Not because it's punishing you, but because it's loyal to your baseline. And the generator of that baseline is your nervous system. It's the hidden transmitter behind every manifestation. It's broadcasting every second of every day, not just what you desire, but what you believe is safe. And until those two things match, you'll keep trying to manifest with your mind while your body cancels the order. Because your energy isn't just what you feel when you meditate. It's the sum of your unconscious responses, your protective patterns, your stress responses, your muscle memory. It's your tone, posture, breath, and baseline. And when those are incoherent, no amount of visualization can override the noise. This is why someone can speak abundance, but still attract scarcity, because their frequency is laced with tension, still expecting the rug to be pulled, still carrying the memory of lack in their cells, and the field reads that distortion like static on a radio. Even if the words are pure, the signal is not. And coherence doesn't mean you're always calm or positive. It means you're congruent. It means your nervous system isn't fighting your desire, it's aligned with it. It means you don't just want peace. You feel safe enough to rest. You don't just want love. You feel open enough to receive it. You don't just say, I am enough. Your body finally believes it. This is the science behind the mysticism. The field isn't responding to fantasy, it's reading your coherence. And coherence is physiological, not just conceptual. It's a state where your heart rhythm, your breath pattern, and your brainwave activity are in sync. And this sync creates a resonance that the field responds to with precision and speed. This is why some people manifest rapidly, not because they're special, but because they're regulated. They're not pretending to be at peace. They've trained their system to feel it. And so the field mirrors that safety with synchronicity and abundance. Not as a reward, but as a reflection. So if your manifestations feel stuck, don't push harder. Align deeper, because it's not your intention that's missing. It's your integration. It's not your desire that's wrong. It's the signal that's unclear. And when the signal shifts, the field responds instantly. That's the quantum truth. And that's the power of coherence. You say you want love, but pull away the moment it feels close. You say you want abundance, but panic when the money lands. You say you want peace, but start a fight with reality the second it gets quiet. This isn't self-sabotage, it's survival. Because what looks like resistance on the outside is often protection on the inside. Protection from vulnerability, from responsibility, from loss, from pain you've lived before and never fully felt. You don't reject love because you don't want it. You reject it because receiving it would mean being seen. And somewhere in your body being seen still feels unsafe. You don't push away success because you're lazy. You push it away because success comes with pressure, visibility, risk, and your nervous system still equates that with danger. You don't crave chaos because you like it. You crave it because calm is unfamiliar, and unfamiliar to your system equals threat. This is what no one tells you, that your biggest blocks are not beliefs. They're biology. They're embedded patterns shaped by your past that still run your present. Not because you're broken, but because your system is brilliant. It learned how to survive, and it keeps choosing what's familiar over what's ideal, because familiarity is what it knows, how to brace for how to manage, how to endure. So if you grew up earning love through performance, your body might still think love must be earned. If you learned that rest equals weakness, your body might still tense up every time you slow down. If you never saw ease without consequence, your body might still see happiness as the calm before the storm. And this wiring doesn't care what your mind says. It only cares what your system has lived. That's why the affirmations don't land, why the vision board stays a fantasy, why the manifestations never quite stick. Because your nervous system isn't chasing what you want. It's protecting you from what it thinks will hurt. And often that includes everything you're trying to call in. Love feels like risk. Wealth feels like pressure. Peace feels like emptiness. And so the moment those things get close, the body pulls back, not with malice, but with memory, not with logic, but with loyalty. This is the hidden heartbreak of healing. Realizing that what you desire most might be the very thing your system is trained to fear, and the only way to shift this isn't to push harder, it's to listen deeper, to stop judging your blocks and start decoding them, to see your shutdowns not as failure, but as signals. Signals that say, this still feels unsafe. And instead of overriding those signals with positivity, you regulate them with presence. You meet the freeze with breath. You meet the panic with slowness. You meet the sabotage with compassion. That's how safety is rewritten, not in the mind, but in the body. Because until your body believes ease is safe, you'll keep bracing for struggle. And until your system knows love doesn't require pain, you'll keep mistaking tension for truth. You're not blocked because you're unworthy. You're blocked because your body still believes protection means rejection. And when that belief softens, the life you want stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like home. The goal was never to just feel good, it was to feel safe with good. And this is where most people get stuck, because your system doesn't chase happiness, it chases what it recognizes. And if it only recognizes struggle, peace will feel suspicious. If it only knows heartbreak, love will feel like a setup. If it only learned survival, joy will feel like a threat. This is the root of the loop you're stuck in. You say you want the new, but you run when it arrives. Not because you don't want it, but because your body doesn't trust it. Not yet. This is where the rewiring begins. Not with a mantra, not with another technique, but with your ability to stay present in the moment. Your system says, leave the moment. Your chest tightens the moment your stomach drops, the moment your breath shortens, and every cell says escape. That's the edge, and the ones who cross it aren't the ones who fight harder, they're the ones who soften deeper. They're the ones who let the discomfort stay without abandoning themselves inside it. Because every time you stay, a new signal is sent. A signal that says, this is different, this is safe, this is allowed. That's the moment the pattern starts to break. It doesn't shatter all at once. It melts slowly, breath by breath, choice by choice. And the biggest shift isn't in what you attract, it's in how you hold it. When you can hold peace without seeking the next problem, when you can feel joy without scanning for what might go wrong, when you can let love in without armoring for betrayal, that's when the field changes. Because you changed. Because you no longer equate goodness with danger. And you didn't do it by forcing a new thought. You did it by staying with an old feeling. The one you always ran from, the one that shaped your nervous system. The one that still lived underneath the performance. And when you stayed, when you felt it all the way through, when you let it move instead of trap, when you gave it space instead of silence, it lost its grip. This is how you anchor in a new frequency, not by becoming fearless, but by becoming fluent in fear and choosing to stay anyway. That's power. And maybe that's the real reason peace used to feel boring, because you were still addicted to the adrenaline of collapse, the chaos of familiar pain, the drama of what you knew how to survive. But now, you're starting to see that peace is not the absence of intensity, it's the presence of safety. And when your body learns to recognize that, everything else begins to shift without force, because you're no longer chasing the feeling. You're becoming the one who can hold it. You don't teach the body safety by shouting over its fear. You teach it through repetition, through presence, through signals that say, I'm not leaving you this time, because safety isn't something you declare. It's something you practice over and over again in moments that once made you run. The nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to lived experience. And every moment you choose to stay with yourself instead of abandon yourself is a message. It remembers. This is the path of repatterning. Not glamorous, not loud, not instantly gratifying, but honest. You walk through your old terrain with a new energy, not to bulldoze the forest of your fear, but to carry a lantern through it to create new trails, to carve out familiarity in places that used to only hold danger. That's how it shifts. When your breath slows during a moment that used to tighten your chest, when you choose to feel joy and you don't immediately brace for the crash. When you let yourself rest without trying to earn it first, that's the practice. Because your system is always learning, and it learns by what you do, not what you say. You can speak affirmations all day, but if your actions contradict them, your body will trust your actions. So you begin small. You catch the moment you collapse into old patterns. You pause. You choose one breath of presence instead of spiraling. You place a hand on your chest and say, I'm here, not to fix, not to force, just to witness. This is how regulation is built, not by eliminating all fear, but by showing your system you know how to meet it without being consumed by it. Joy becomes safe, not when everything is perfect, but when your body knows it won't be abandoned in the experience of joy. When it realizes it doesn't have to protect you from what's good, just because what's good used to disappear. This is how the signal shifts in the field, not through control, but through coherence. When your inner world becomes a place where peace can land and stay. When love isn't chased, it's received. When stillness doesn't signal danger, but welcome. And you don't get there by pretending you're ready. You get there by becoming ready, moment by moment, breath by breath, repetition by repetition, until your nervous system stops anticipating collapse and starts trusting your presence. That's the repatterning. That's the foundation of everything you're trying to manifest. Not desire, but safety. And safety begins with how you treat yourself when your system is overwhelmed. That's the real work, and the field feels that. It doesn't follow your timeline. It follows your regulation. And your regulation starts the moment you stop escaping and start walking back home. You've been told to speak it into existence, to declare your reality with conviction, as if the universe is a listener, waiting to be impressed by confidence. But the field isn't listening to your words. It's scanning your frequency. This is not about volume. This is about coherence. The quantum doesn't care how many times you repeat the affirmation. If your body is still stuck in hypervigilance, it doesn't register declarations made from a nervous system frozen in self-protection. When you try to manifest from a place of dissonance, the signal is scrambled. You're asking for peace while your system is broadcasting fear. You're visualizing abundance while your body still expects loss. And so nothing lands, because the field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. Coherence is not about being calm all the time. It's about alignment between what you feel, what you think, and how you act. It's about a nervous system that doesn't have to pretend. This is the real tuning. The field reflects you not at your most hopeful, but at your most honest. It responds not to your performance, but to your baseline. And your baseline is the pattern your system returns to when things get quiet, when effort stops, when masks fall off. If that baseline is urgency, the field brings more to do. If that baseline is lack, the field brings reminders of what's missing. If that baseline is chaos, the field will never feel safe enough to deliver something stable. You shift reality, not by demanding it, but by becoming the signal it already matches. And you become that signal, not by force, but by returning again and again to the body. Learning how to stay present in moments that once demanded escape. Learning how to breathe when everything tells you to brace. Learning how to relax, even when the outcome is unknown. That's when the tuning begins. That's when the field hears something new. Because now you're not begging it to change, you're showing it that change has already begun. And it responds not because it's convinced, but because it's aligned. This is why you can't fake coherence. You can't trick the field with surface-level rituals. You can't bypass the biology that's been broadcasting a survival frequency for decades. You tune it differently. You shift the emotional set point through regulation, through presence, through repetition. That's how the field opens. Not when you yell louder, But when you finally become quiet enough for the truth to settle into your cells, that's when the signal stabilizes. That's when the quantum begins to rearrange. Not because you asked, but because you became. You keep thinking you're not aligned enough, not healed enough, not high vibe enough, and it keeps you chasing the next breakthrough, the next method, the next layer of insight, hoping it will finally unlock the thing you've been waiting for. But what if the key isn't more effort? What if it's more safety? What if the reason you keep looping isn't because you're blocked, but because your body is still living in defense, your system still scanning for what might go wrong, still expecting the rug to be pulled, still waiting for love to leave abundance, to disappear, peace to become boring again? This is the quiet background frequency running the show, and it's not something to shame, it's something to meet, because you are not too much, you are not too broken, you are not behind, you're just wired for protection, and that wiring is not permanent, it's plastic, it's malleable, it's rewritable. And the rewiring doesn't happen by chasing alignment, it happens by making safety the new alignment. Because your nervous system doesn't follow ideas, it follows felt sense. And until it learns that ease doesn't equal danger, that love doesn't mean loss, that stillness doesn't mean death, it will keep rejecting what your mind is calling in. This is where the work turns inward, not in search of another fix, but in devotion to a new rhythm, a new ritual, one that teaches your body to trust safety, one breath at a time. So ask yourself right now, what is your body still bracing against? What is it still expecting to lose the moment something good begins? Where does it flinch before it even receives? These are not questions to analyze, they are doorways to inhabit. Because when you start holding your system with presence instead of pressure, it softens. When you stop running from your chaos and start regulating it with compassion, the field shifts. Not in response to force, but in response to safety. Because safety is the real wealth. Safety is the real power. Safety is the foundation that makes expansion sustainable. And the moment your system begins to feel safe enough to hold what you once had to chase, that's the moment it comes to find you. Not because you proved yourself, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. And that signal is what the quantum listens for every time.